welcome, welcome, welcome. I am Shaman Marcus. This is Healing with Marcus, the channel, and I hope you're doing well. I'm grateful you found this video. This is going to be a video about jealousy, and it's a big theme. It's something that touches most people's lives at one point or another. Either you have been very jealous yourself, or you have been in relationships with people who are extremely jealous. I myself have been jealous most of my life. It's been a big part of my journey, and pretty much, maybe not every relationship, but most of my relationships have fallen apart thanks to my jealousy. Now, there's been behaviors that have been part of the whole system that of course haven't been healthy, but it seems to all be based in my own inner frequency and in my wounding and in the frequency of jealousy. So if you follow along here for just a second, first off, we're going to take a quick breath into our body. Just breathe into yourself. Come back home. Allow your shoulders to relax. Feel into your body for a moment. So, this way, you begin to teach your nervous system to relax a little bit. When we are in a fit of jealousy, it's very easy to be in a state of stress. And when we are in that state of stress, there's also fight or flight mode going on. It's your parasympathetic nervous system that is saying, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, I got to get out of here, I got to escape. Or the other part it's saying is, I got to control the other person so they don't act in ways that could potentially hurt me. Now, when we look at what jealousy is, we have to unpack. It's a lot of unpacking. Because jealousy is such a big topic, big theme. And it has to do with both your inner wound, your wounds inside of you. And regardless of what the other person is doing, the wounds are still inside of you. And if you're anything like me, I was in many, many jealous relationships where of course the other partner would be jealous as well, but really it started with me and it ended with me. And when I look at how I acted in those relationships, and when I look at how I interacted with the person, I would accuse them, I would try and change them, I would try and make them not look that way, not go that way, not go and hang out with this person. Because it would always feed my insecurities. It would always feed feelings that I would pick up on, right? And of course, there's always energies between people. There's always going to be energy going on. But what our choice is, you and me, as the person who's being jealous, my choice is to try and change the whole world to fit so that I can feel safe, which unfortunately isn't really going to happen. Or we can move ourselves into our own inner space. And when we do, we begin to work on healing the wounds that are inside of us that are causing the problems in the first place. So, and I'm going to give you 3 different reasons for jealousy and part of healing it, right? So one, the biggest one for me at least, and I didn't know it until I could see it clearly. And this is the other part of it, is that when you are in the middle of being jealous of somebody and you're in the middle of being very triggered, it's really hard to see past, it's their fault that I'm feeling this way. It's really hard to see past, oh my God, now he or she is doing this again and I can't believe it. And they're getting texts from this person and I can't stand it, blah, blah, blah. It's very hard to get past the trigger because it's so activated. The reality is that it's much deeper than just this trigger. It's much deeper than just this relationship. The jealousy that you're feeling, that you're experiencing, is much deeper rooted within you than within anybody else around you. So when it comes to the first part of the jealousy is we give away our power over and over and over. When you move into a relationship where you start to get jealous, because you can probably remember the first time you felt that pain, that ting, like the ping in your heart, like, oh, can't believe they just did that. And then you start to express, oh, I don't feel comfortable with this. It hurts my feelings when you do this. It hurts my heart. I don't trust when this happens. Well, one of the problems with that is that we have given away all our power to the other person. We have given away, you have given away your feeling of security, your feeling of safety, and your sense of who you are to the other person and to the relationship itself. And when we give away our power that way, unfortunately, we have to control them so that the power, so that your feelings of who you are, so that your feeling, your heart doesn't go away with the other person. So it feeds into this system of control, fear and control, fear and control. And it, of course, many people say, oh, you're just insecure, is what people say, right? And it's not the whole truth. Yes, it is based in insecurities, but it's much deeper than just insecurities. If you look at what jealousy, how it can come out, and where it comes from, you can start to see that it's a frequency in your body that's been activated since you were little. Many people who go into jealous relationships as adults have also grown up in that setting. We've grown up in a setting where maybe everybody around us couldn't be trusted. Maybe in my case, my parents weren't able to really stay on a healthy, sane course. So they looked around and they acted inappropriately for being in a relationship, which led to a lot of jealousy between them. And that's how I learned how to express when I was in a relationship. It was also a frequency in my body that was activated. So when I go into a relationship, when something makes me tick and go, oh yeah, that's a good person, that's a great person, usually there are so many subliminal messages going on that are clicking, all the cogs are clicking in place. And then suddenly I find myself giving away my power. And what if we live in a mindful state? When you live in a more of a centered state of yourself, you are aware of who you are, where you are, you actually are able to feel, uh-oh, I'm giving away my power. Uh-oh, I'm starting to fall for a person is the expression we use. You're like, I fell for that person. It's beautiful. It's beautiful to love all in or love all out, like to feel the feeling of love. Beautiful. But it's not beautiful to be leaning on somebody so much that they have to, if they don't stick around, you're going to fall. It's the old paradigm. It's how relationships have been built through our lives previously in our humankind, and how we perceive it, right? You and I, we perceive it that way. So the real solution, if you read The Prophet by Khalil Gibran, you'll see there's some ideas that he shares around how not to lean on each other, but to stand next to each other and walk, just like the pillars under the temple. They don't lean on each other, they stand next to each other so that you can walk with your partner fully in your sovereign space. They can walk in their sovereign space and you walk next to each other. If you lean on somebody, they feel that pressure. At some point, they're going to have to move away. And at some point, that means you fall. So for you not to fall, you start to control this person so they don't move away. That becomes jealousy. That becomes insecurity. Now, so number one is we give away our power. And when you bring your power back into your body, you begin to shift the frequency between you. You begin to shift the energy in the relationship. And you begin to shift how you feel about things. Not to say you don't love the other person, but you can see things in a different light. The other thing that happens is that we, from a shamanic point of view, we end up enforcing the behaviors that we don't want by focusing on them. There was plenty of times in my previous relationships where a woman would tell me, I never act this way, Marcus. I don't normally act this way. I don't know what's coming over me. And it's so interesting to see, because I have learned now that I'm a powerful person, I'm a powerful individual, I'm a powerful shaman. When we are powerful like that, we almost put spells on other people when we express things. So it enforces their behaviors as well. And it's very unfortunate, because it makes you feel like, makes me feel like, oh, my perception of reality is always real. I'm always right. And then they start acting worse, and I start feeling like, oh my God, I can't believe they're doing that. So then I'm starting to look for only that bad behavior. It's a lot like looking for red flags. It's an unfortunate expression when we start to look for red flags, because it turns out that when what you look for, you will find. So if you are a person who asks yourself, why can't I meet that right person? Why can't I meet that one good person? Why is everybody I meet, why do they seem to have the same bad behaviors? It's because you only see those bad behaviors. And that's the frequency that you're tuning into. When you're tuning into that bad behavior, it's almost like if two people, if you have a buddy that you connect with over sports, and you realize, oh, we always talk sports when we hang out. We talk about these games and this team, and we know what teams are fun to talk about, so we always talk about the same teams. And this new player here and this new player there, and what happened there was unbelievable. The ref did this. Well, if you start to realize that when you enforce, that's how the two of you are interacting on that frequency. Well, if you start to realize that when you start to interact in a jealous space, both from inside of you and with the other person, you're interacting with that frequency. You're strengthening that frequency. They start to feel it. They start to live in it. I've also been the person who's been with partners who've been very jealous, and it's a horrible feeling. It's an unbelievably horrible feeling, because the other person is expecting the absolute worst from me. They're seeing only the bad in me. And at some point I realized, oh my God, no matter what I do, I can't change her perception of me, because it's already set inside of her. Her perception of reality is set. So that's where we'd got to come back home, because I knew her perception of me wasn't truthful. It wasn't reality. And when I start to recognize and realize that my perception of my partners have not been real either. So number one, we give away our power. And by doing so, we're also enforcing the negative behaviors in the other person. Number two, we have to control the other person in order so we can stay safe. Because for many of us who walk around with an injury, a wound in our sacral system, in our sacral chakra, in our root chakra, and in our emotional body, that wound makes us feel unsafe in life, unstable. When you feel unstable in life, when you find another person, you feel like they can stabilize you. You feel like they can become your anchor. And when your anchor is another person, you got to make sure that they stay, so that your anchor doesn't go away, because then you get more insecure again. And with that insecurity and with that instability in your emotional system, it's really easy for the other person to start to feel insecure and unstable as well. And suddenly we have this maelstrom, this currency, and this negative spiral of trauma exchanging, because we end up living from our trauma. When I go into a jealousy space, I come from the trauma that I grew up in, and then the trauma I experienced myself. And when all that is activated, there's no, I'm acting from a space, an emotional space of something that happened 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years ago. And I'm putting that on the person right now. And all that energy, all that emotion is coming out. And sometimes they're like, oh my God, I don't know where this is coming from. And you're like, oh my God, but you did this and that. And they're like, yeah, but you're so intense, or you're feeling all these feelings, or you're going through all that. And until I can come back home and begin to heal my traumas, begin to heal what's going on in the sacral chakra, in the root chakra, in my heart. When I begin to heal those frequencies and shift the frequencies into healing, into light, into love, and I can sit more in the flow of life, I both become much more of a loving person. And I also don't have to enforce my old behaviors and my old thinking. Because at one point, I started realizing, and maybe you can realize it too, that when we become jealous of somebody, it's really easy to start to take their inventory, to get into their business, to become like, oh my God, who is that they're talking to now? Who is that they're looking at now? Who did they just get a text from? And what's going on with that? And when we start to do that, we are invading their privacy. And we're doing it in a way that's not healthy. You, as a sovereign being, have all the rights in the world to your integrity, to who you are, to your feelings, to what's going on in here. But it doesn't really mean we have the right to put all this on them. We also don't really have the right to go in and look in their phone, look in their hearts to see what are they thinking and feeling right now. What we do have a right to do is to stay centered and whole in our own space. And if the other person wants to come with us, they will. And if they don't, they won't. That's the rule of a sovereign being. A sovereign being, if you can be a sovereign being, you can stand on your own 2 feet. You don't have to lean. You stand on your own 2 feet in your inner space. This other person feel a shift. They may just start coming back around. Or they may keep doing their behaviors until they are done with whatever they're doing. Until they have learned their lessons and healed their trauma. But you're not the person who can heal their trauma for them. You can only heal your own. So, and then, we have another part of this where the idea of jealousy and of owning another person so we can feel safe is also a very old paradigm. It's an old story that we're telling ourselves in order to feel safe. If I only find Mr. Right, Mrs. Right, if I only find her, then I'll be safe. Then my heart will be fine. Then I'll be whole. And unfortunately, nothing outside of you is going to make you whole. It's only you. When you find yourself and you start to heal in your inner space, that's how we heal ourselves. That's how we heal a relationship too. You heal yourself, you end up healing everything around you. And if it turns out that this relationship, that when we're in a jealous space, it's everything we have. Oh my God, she's everything I got. When I come back into my own space and I find myself, suddenly I'm like, oh, hang on. We're just 2 people walking together. And it's beautiful if it's working out. But it's beautiful if it's not working out too. Because we're 2 sovereign beings. And when you find your inner love, when you find healing in your heart, your sacral chakra, your root chakra, and your solar plexus everywhere, when we find that kind of healing, we end up being able to walk next to somebody without any ties. Like, we can have ties to each other in a way, but not the ties of bondage, not the you have to be mine in order for me to feel good, or in order for the world to be right. If you choose to come with me, absolutely beautiful. If you choose not to, that's also beautiful. When we come into present moment awareness, we become aware that there's a lot we don't know about our world. There's a lot coming around the corner to us. If this doesn't work out, there might be something much more beautiful coming around. Many more beautiful experiences. And even if there isn't, the more we heal in here, the less we need the other person, the less we need the partner to make us feel whole. So sovereignty, healing. Then there's another thing that's a part of this. There's something called dissociation. Dissociation is a result of very deep trauma from childhood. Often it can be sexual in nature, but it can also be aggressive or just when you get really scared. We often dissociate from your original energy, your original self, because something happened that was so uncomfortable that you don't really want to feel it. And when you dissociate from the original self, there's a new strain of energy going on, new frequency in the body, and the original frequency isn't really intact anymore. It's not really, you're not connecting to it. So you don't feel stable. Almost like a tree, if you have very weak roots or they're cut off in the root, the tree will start to feel unstable. You try and build a skyscraper on muddy ground or on sandy soil, the skyscraper will stand like this the whole time. And it will most likely need to have another skyscraper to hold it up. Well, that's what dissociation can do to us and for us. We also call it soul loss. It can be helped by soul retrieval, a shamanic tradition of helping people to heal deeply, finding pieces of themselves that they lost behind, left behind when they were young. And sometimes we can go through miraculous healings by finding those pieces. It's a very beautiful process. So long story short, right, I want to keep it a little bit short. Jealousy is a sign that you carry trauma in your heart and in your body. It's a sign that you haven't found your way into your own healing. It's not so much about what the other person is doing, even though it feels like it in the moment. It feels like it's all about them, but it's all about you. Coming back home. As you heal, they will feel a shift. You will be able to heal the relationship if that's what you want and what they want. If it's a mutual desire. Now, we also want to let go of control. One way to do that is to realize that that person has a right to their integrity. That person has a right to their sovereignty. And even if their integrity means that they don't have integrity, you still don't have a right to invade it, because it makes you lack integrity. It ruins your feeling of integrity when you go in and attack somebody else. So if they lack integrity with other people, they're flirtatious online or whatever they are, if they do that, right, that's on them. That's based in their trauma. If you start to attack them, that's based in your trauma. So what we want to do is to heal in here. They can heal in themselves. They may be able to stop that. And you don't have to worry. And either way, there's nothing to worry about. As you come home into your heart and your body, there's nothing to worry about with the other person. It is all about coming in here, coming home. Coming home. And being willing to let go of certain old paradigms, certain old stories. It's basically a little bit of like religion has taught us some pretty not so good relationships between men and women, or between whoever, right? But the relationship balance is out of whack quite often. We're not honoring ourselves and we're not honoring each other. When you learn how to honor yourself, which is another part of this, integrity and honesty and honor, you learn how to listen to your higher self, you learn how to sit in your own integrity, you become integral, you allow them to be integral. You allow them to have their integrity. And if you are in a space where you can grow into your own integrity, they will start to notice, they will do the same. So, this is one part of the jealousy talk. There might be more coming down the line. If you have questions or thoughts around this, please feel free to write either here on YouTube, or you can find me on anything under Healing with Marcus, or the website, healingwithmarcus.com. But please like and subscribe if you like this talk, and there are many, many more here on this channel. All right. I wish you a beautiful day. Lots of healing. Namaste and aho.